Hello, dear community, and very welcome to our live stream. We are starting this day with breaking news. Blockpit has another investment closed, $10 million, a big thing, super growth this year. And we have Florian Wimmer here, the co-founder and CEO. Florian, hello.
Hi, Dejan. Great to be here.
Berthold Baurek-Karlic, the leading investor from the previous round, European Super Angels Club. Hello.
Hey, pleasure to be here again.
And we have per Zoom with us the managing director of MiddleGame Ventures, Pascal. Welcome, Pascal.
Thank you very much for having me. I look forward to our chat.
Thank you for taking time. You are the lead investor of the current round, and obviously we're going to be very curious about why did you invest. But first, Florian, what's the reason for this round? What was the development in the past years?
A lot of reasons. We had a great first half of the year, and also like last months of last year. I mean, everybody was following the crypto market. It's pretty obvious that this were great months for us. Last time I think we talked, we were closing the acquisition of Krypto-Tex, a German competitor. Of course, we were dealing with the whole post-integration, merger integration, while also scaling up the business. We had a lot of new user growth, a lot of revenue growth in the first half of the year. And yeah, that gave us the attraction of some investors, MiddleGame being of one of them, where I can happily say that now we're in the final steps of the investment. We close it. Took us a few months, but I think for this round we actually went ahead pretty quickly, and yeah, looking forward to use the new funds.
Could you just introduce some other investors? I think you have a very good round. Investors who were are involved in Coinbase, Ripple, and really insiders of the blockchain and crypto community. Yeah,
so actually we're having 6 investors participating in the round, with MiddleGame Ventures, of course, being the lead investor, and the EXF Alpha, the European Super Angels Club, participating again, and the 4 others from different backgrounds, but all a little bit in the same direction thinking, and very important for our future plans. So we are having Fabric Ventures, who are actually very deeply involved in the whole crypto space. So they are investing in a lot of projects, tokens as well. We're having Avaloq Ventures participating around from maybe the whole other directive, like traditional finance, core banking software provider. Now we're seeing Deutsche Börse acquiring something in the crypto space, so the traditional finance market is going to be very interesting for us. We're having Tioga Capital, also now a new upcoming fund who is investing into crypto in the European area, and we're having Force OMS Capital, also very involved in the crypto space, fintech space, and yeah, everybody with a lot of benefits for our plans going forward.
A strong development, as you mentioned. How are the revenues doing? You said that this year already you, so to say,
yeah, we 5x'd the revenue of last year in the first half year alone. So okay, we're experiencing growth of around 40% per month in the first month of this year. Still going strong. Of course, now market is a little bit cooling down. And while, of course, we are a little bit affected by the market, our business model is not just like working out when prices are going up. We saw a lot of interesting numbers when we basically calculated taxable income in Austria, Germany last year. Pretty confident this is going to be very much increased this year as well. We are seeing a lot of institutionals coming in. This is giving the market, of course, some credit. So I don't believe that we're going to see a crypto winter like we did the last 2 months, and that going forward for us, of course, is very exciting, also with a lot of regulation coming up. So this is our business model, of course, regulation and everything basically playing in our hands.
Yeah, this is what we're going to talk about. Just before we move to Pascal, did your pitch, your product change, or are you, so to say, growing the current product that we know from the last talk with us?
Well, the initial pitch, like Krypto-Tex software, changed a little bit, or not changed, but rather expanded. So you could really say we're a fully fledged compliance software provider now for crypto assets. So we also stepped into the whole anti-money laundering directive.
KYC?
KYC not, but KYT. So we're saying know your transaction. So basically like evaluating the asset itself, not the person handling it. This is something the blockchain makes possible in the first time in the technological perspective. This is where we're also in there. So transaction analysis for regulatory purposes.
Perfect. Pascal, MiddleGame Ventures. Before we ask you why did you invest in Blockpit and what's your estimate for the market in general, what do you guys do, MiddleGame Ventures, for the startups in Austria who might not know you yet?
I have been investing with my partners in financial technology startups for the better part of the last 12 years. This is my third fund, the third fund that I manage, and the first fund that I own under this name, MiddleGame Ventures. We invest 100% in Europe, and we do post-seed to Series B, checks of 1 to 4 million. That's a first check with follow-on, obviously. Anywhere in the European Union, a predilection of B2B and B2B2C business models. So we'll look at direct-to-consumer, case in point, especially when these direct-to-consumer models have a natural pivot towards a B2B business line at some point in the future.
And do you have any preferences in terms of technologies? Is crypto and blockchain market the one that you focus on, or is that one of the investment, so to say, strategies that you have?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think we lead with a vision for how the financial services industry is going to reinvent itself, right? Less friction, a little less decentralized at the margin, slightly more intelligent and automated. And when I say intelligence, it's the automation part that is more intelligent, less manual processes, better pinpoint services for either retail clients or businesses. And off of that vision, which is a 10 to 15 year term horizon, then we pick who we believe are the leaders. And the leaders can use advanced data analytics, robot process automation, platform plays, or blockchain technology, or a combination of these, right? So we don't have any specific predilection in terms of like a building block that is technology driven. What we're looking for is category killers that are using technologies in the right way for the type of value proposition or market structure that they are addressing, right?
And not only for not only for the
ahead.
financial markets and so to say fintechs and regulatory techs, beyond that, or do you really focus on the financial markets?
Well, yeah, so the financial services industry, but our view is quite broad and expansive with an A in terms of what does the financial service industry encompass, right? Grossly speaking, you have payments, you have insurance, you have lending, you have capital markets, and you have asset management, right? And so these are the 5 ecosystems that we look at. And in addition to that, we also look at identity, which is part and parcel of reputation, and money, which then gets into credit. And then we look at very complex middleware or back-end issues that are the plumbing of the financial services industry. That gets us to new asset classes, that gets us to how new asset classes are issued in a different way, or post-issuance, how they're handled also in a different way. So it is a drastically different vision than like the traditional fintech approach, which might be, let's look at savings, let's look at lending on the retail side, and so on and so forth.
I think it's a current statistic of CB Insights that the vast majority, or the most of unicorns, current unicorns, are fintechs, or let's call them dealing with financial services. Do you think this trend will continue, or are there new kids on the block, new branches, new industries that are going to come?
Oh, I certainly think that we're at maybe the end of the beginning of the renovation of the financial services industry. For compliance, for regulatory reasons, it is an industry that the venture capital investors didn't really touch until let's say 8 years ago. And so there's been a lot of innovation and a lot of startup investing in various other industries that are way more advanced with regards to becoming fully digital, right? the digitization of the financial services industry is lagging compared to other industries. And so from that perspective, and also you have to remember that financial services globally is anywhere between 15 and 18 or 19% of world GDP, depending on where you are with the exuberance of the markets, right? And then from that perspective, we're barely scratching the surface.
Wow.
Most of the unicorns, right, are in payments, are close to the retail client. There are very few that are yet in capital markets, in asset management, in business services for enterprises that are orthogonal to financial services. There's probably a couple, but not that many. Stripe comes to mind. So it's not that the best is yet to come, but there's going to be much, much more activity, I believe, in that industry.
Obviously, also with Blockpit, why did you invest in this startup? What convinced you?
Well, first and foremost, we look at the market opportunity, right? And you have to say that when it comes to taxes and tax services and compliance around tax services, it's a given, right? Like, I don't remember who said there are two things that are given in life, taxes and death. And I don't like to invest in death, but I sure like to invest in taxes, right? And tax services. So the market opportunity, and we're convinced fairly fast by that. And then number two, we have to have a great team and a great founder and co-founders. And after discussing with Florian and the other co-founders, we're convinced that we had like a great team in front of us. And then finally, the product, as well as the product market fit. And you heard Florian as well as that I did. He's growing really fast. He's going to grow even faster towards the second half of this year and next year. And for him, and his team, it's only the beginning, right? We're scratching the surface with adoption of tax services for crypto for retail individuals, and then institutions, as well as large enterprises, as well as mid-sized businesses, as well as small businesses will handle one way or another either tokens or crypto assets or cryptocurrencies at some point. And that's also a great area of growth. So for all these reasons, we're convinced that we had in front of us a category leader for the EU. And one of our missions at MiddleGame Ventures is indeed to back teams that are building category leaders in the European Union. So
Fantastic.
That's your explanation.
Great. Berthold, a category leader is a good, so to say, term that you also used. You told me last time when we were talking with Blockpit that they're market leader after the acquisition that you made. Was that the strategy in order to attract international investors such as MiddleGame Ventures as well?
Well, as a startup, you always have to focus, right? And I mean, sometimes it's enough if you focus hyper-local, right? Sometimes it's great if you focus on your European turf, right? Because the market, and I mean, if you consider the tax volume that for crypto overall Europe is existing, if you look only at the tax market in Europe, this is a huge market. And then there is the complexity of the different jurisdictions, of the different laws, of the, you need to be audited in all those areas. Then you have European policy kicking in. So you have a new directive coming, both for the asset management side, where basically banks and wealth managers will be able to, work with crypto as well. We just saw the German stock exchange acquiring a company in Switzerland, and this is just the beginning. I fully agree with Pascal here. We're just scratching the surface. There's a lot more to come. And the more business that is done out there by the incumbents and the new players, the more need there will be for also tax solutions, but also for the regulatory solutions on the AML side, on the token tracing side. And I think that, in our drawers at Blockpit, we have some really, really cool product lines for the future that could even, maybe in addition to all the different categories that Pascal already told us, could even be interesting for governments in the future. I mean, if you think that governments will soon have a law that will give them data from exchanges, from crypto exchanges, they then need to do something with it. Right? So you need to make sense out of this huge amount of data that comes in, and you want to do this GDPR compliant. You want to do this safe, audited, right? So you want to make true sense, right, reliable out of this data. And I think that Blockpit is definitely a category leader, and let's see how far they can grow.
Florian, I think Berthold is talking about the AC8 directive, which could be a game changer for your business in terms of your exponential growth. Can you explain us this key event in your journey, in your scaling journey, so to say?
Yeah, definitely something that we, from a business perspective, are looking very much forward to. I mean, regulation in general in crypto is still a gray area in many jurisdictions, and this is the first like EU-wide really interesting directive coming out, like having all virtual asset software providers, as we call them, so crypto exchanges, brokers, payment providers, being able to transport data directly to the governments and governments making sense of it.
They will be obliged to do that?
They will be obliged to do that on an EU scale. At least that's what the draft right now is saying. It's still in a draft, but it's very, very much likely that this is going to come out next year, or at least in the next 18 months. So this is something that we have to prepare for.
So to put it in very simple words, the traders and exchanges will have to give the data to financial authorities of European states.
Exactly. So like you have with banks, like opening up the interfaces.
Yeah.
So this is now also
PSD2.
Exactly. So this is now also affecting crypto providers, and this could be really on a transactional basis level. So really like every trade, everything that you did on the exchange, like one-on-one in that data structure is going to come to the authorities.
And that's exactly your field where you're market leader in Europe.
Well, this is what we are now doing for the end consumer. So gathering your data from different sources and making sense of it, and also like in an optimized way calculating it based on an audited tax framework in your country. Because data is just different everywhere. And this is a challenge that governments are going to face. So they're going to get the data, but they have to make sense out of it. And this is the solution that we can provide.
And that could boost your business again exponentially.
Of course, like governments using that solution makes it easy for them to compare basically everything that our users so far reported. So if like both sides are using the same software, it's easy to just like calculate and compare those things and make sense of it, and for you to stay compliant at all times.
There's also large tax advisories that already are, from their side asking Blockpit for a solution where they can work with their clients. Because even for a tax advisor, if you have 200,000 trades in one tax year, right? This is incredibly difficult to understand for a tax advisor, right? Nearly impossible. And then maybe you have earned some airdrops and some staking rewards and other things. They then need to figure out how does this play into your tax, right? And this is where the software can help. And so we see this pull from the market on the B2B side, but also on the business to government side. I'm very sure that the talks
well, it's about setting a standard,
fast.
right? It all comes down, set a standard for all the players involved in the ecosystem. Because, those many transactions, you can't just break it down to everything in one. You need a trusted standard, an audited standard that everybody's comfortable using, everybody's accepting, and so that we can bring regulation and adoption forward.
And are you ready to have governmental clients in terms of GDPR safety? Are you, so to say, from your infrastructure, from your tech infrastructure, let's call it compliant to work with them?
Absolutely, yeah. So we are now active in 6 countries with audited and Big Four audited tax framework in those countries. Of course, things are constantly changing. We're now seeing decentralized finance like having a massive growth in the last months. Personally, I'm totally interested in the whole like bringing centralized and decentralized together. So now we're having those virtual asset service providers, of course. Now with the DSA8 guideline, they would have to transmit data. And then we have this open data on the blockchain, right? Everybody can look into it. Ethereum blockchain, Binance Smart Chain, Bitcoin blockchain, now with Taproot as well. So we have to bring that together. This is like what it comes down to enable adoption of crypto assets in the real world.
And we saw already some of the first, let's call it, key events in your growth. For example, players like Bitpanda, Austrian unicorn, included your product in their app for the end users to be able to evaluate their taxes in terms of
we're
crypto.
having similar values, Bitpanda and us. We say like compliance is one of the main features that we have to adapt to, and the other one is usability. So those are the 2 pillars that Bitpanda built their product upon, and we also are using those 2 pillars. So the synergy was great, and yeah, it's also a benefit, of course, for the users because you want to stay compliant, right?
Of course. One thing that I'm still curious about, you say 40% revenue growth month to month, and in the first half of year this year, you have 5 times the revenue of the whole of the last year. What is the reason for that? What is pushing this revenue? Is it B2C, or are there already first B2B clients such as tax advisory clients and so on and so forth?
So it's mostly B2C still, but we're seeing a lot of influx on the B2B side. So not just like the tax advisors, but like really corporate businesses that are now looking into crypto on their balance sheets. But of course, the first half year was like a massive inflow of new users. Bitpanda scaled up, I think, the user base up to 2.5 million.
Yeah.
And with the integration, of course, people are already confronted with the tax topic from day one, which is of course great conversion for us as well.
And I think it's important to stress out again that your business model does not depend on the growth of the crypto market. It doesn't matter in which direction it goes. I have to tax my, so to say, my transactions, whether I lose or win or wherever I trade.
Well, it's definitely coming down to the growth of the crypto market, people entering this market. But of course, either the prices go up or they go down. You still will need to have some proof of origin transaction analysis later on frame. So either when the governments are getting your data in their hands, or if you're cashing out into a bank account, right?
Exactly.
Everybody wants to know like the flow of those assets and where they came from, and if everything is clean and everything is compliant.
Pascal and also Berthold, one thing which I find very interesting in many startups is this, I don't know, transaction or further development when they come either from B2B market and then they enter the B2C market, or they come like you guys from B2C market and enter the B2B market. The way I saw it in many startups, it can be a challenging period to refocus or extend. How do you see that, and how are you going to advise your guys to manage this process?
Well, the life of a successful startup, and as well as an unsuccessful startup, right, is to go through one pivot after another. And indeed, you know, what separates an unsuccessful from a successful startup is managing those pivots well. So you have traditional pivots that get you from like an idea to a product, from a product to a product market fit, from a product market fit to a product market sales fit. Over these, you can overlay different pivots, i.e. you're in super early growth, you're in early growth, or in your late stage growth, right? And that implies being able to figure out how to grow your team, being able to figure out how to navigate organizational change. And indeed, one of these is like adding a business line. That's another pivot, right? So it's as challenging to add a business line if you're pure B2B or if you're pure direct-to-consumer. And I don't think that it's any more challenging to add a business line across from B2B to direct-to-consumer. A lot of the startups do that. There are tricks of the trades, there are best practices. We certainly have seen that over the past 10, 12 years that we've invested in startups. And that's one of the types of expertises that we bring to the table. Paying particular attention to sales, the sales process, business development, and partnerships, right? These are the three key areas where you want to kind of like start to inject a different type of DNA, making key hires that will augment the skills of the existing team, and understanding that it's a bit of like a push and pull, right? You have your expertise and your know-how in the market. You're just adding various people that know how to sell to a different profile of clients, while at the same time adapting your product or your technology at the margin for that different type of client. And might I add, right? This is why people like Berthold or like us at MiddleGame Ventures, first and foremost, invest in a stellar team. Because we know that pivots are coming. Some of the pivots we manage, and there are goals, like going from direct-to-consumer to B2B and with Blockpit. But other pivots are forced onto a startup. You know, we have no clue. And then we wake up one morning and we have to pivot. And you can't pivot successfully without a stellar team.
Wow, that's a really
Hence,
good point.
make sure that you back a stellar team, because else you're going to be in deep trouble.
How do you check that when you do your due diligence? What are the indicators that you have it?
I put my chief psychologist hat. And given that we're in Vienna, I buy a couch.
And then go
I put
for
a
it.
white beard. I have half of the white beard. And then I start going at psychology. No, I mean, obviously, we spend an inordinate amount of time one-on-one with the co-founders and as a team. Even more so now that, well, for the past 18 months, we haven't been able to travel and to meet people face-to-face. So that means that the number of calls or video calls that we did prior to the pandemic basically has quintupled, right? We want to make sure that we get to understand the people. We want to make sure that we start a dialogue early enough so that the team knows us, we know them, and then we kind of ferret out any type of dysfunction. If there is any dysfunction, we figure out how strong is the team, in which direction can the team get the company, what types of skills that they need to acquire to augment the team. And all of that we kind of share with the founder and the co-founders to kind of make sure that they understand where we're coming from. And that's the art of VC investing, over and above looking at spreadsheets, looking at the market, looking at the addressable market, looking at the product and the technology, right? When we invest that early, we hit it when we've done our all that work that is inter and intra personal, trying to figure out the quirks of the founders, trying to figure out what motivates them, trying to figure out where they're strong, and so on and so forth. I could go on, and then at the end you would go, but how does he do it? Because it's a little more art and it's a little less science for sure.
So it's a lot of gut feeling as well, or intuition, which obviously it's also data driven because it's your life experience that you bring into this evaluation.
That's the exact point. A lot of people say it's the gut feeling, but it's gut feeling from looking at 800 to 900 startups per year over 12 years. And then it becomes innate, right?
Somebody told me intuition is super data because all the life experience goes into it, and intuition is not just, let's say, something romantic. It's real data that we are not aware of.
That's exactly right. I'll take the analogy of a firefighter that comes in front of a building that is on fire, and if that firefighter has 30 years of experience fighting fires, within 5 seconds, he or she knows what to do in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you're going to ask him or her, how do you do it? And they're going to say, I looked at it. Because, it's so ingrained through years and years of experience. But that's exactly that. That gut feel is actually data-driven over years and years and years of experience.
Exactly. Berthold, you have in your portfolio of European Super Angels Club also 2 more companies, for example, tokenized car sharing model, Eloop, or company, 1 to 3 company, who is also super exciting, RegTech and FinTech. And especially the company is in the B2B focus on the market. Eloop also entering the B2B market. Are these the experiences that you can also contribute to Blockpit to understand how to sell the B2B? Because it's a different kind of sales than on the B2C market.
I think Eloop is a little bit the odd one in this comparison because they do electric car sharing, right? I mean, obviously
tokenized.
Yes, tokenized, yes, but I mean they have business clients, etc. In the RegTech space, I'm incredibly proud of that we very early understood that within fintech there is this little shovel that enables the gold rush of fintech, which is RegTech. And RegTech just was 3-4 years ago, was first time recognized as a market on its own, and CB Insight actually published a market size number on it, right? Before that, it was a part of fintech. Yeah, it was not there. With company, we actually had our first investment in this space. And when I met Florian back a couple years ago, he sneaked into an event that I had with AFCO in a hotel. He ran around, I think, as Markus Ertler, the famous business angel. And I looked at him and was like, "You're not Markus. So who are you?" And he pitched his startup. We went outside of the hotel because I wanted to chat with him. And obviously I didn't want to make a scene there, right, with all the guests that we had. And then I thought it's super interesting what he says, but I didn't understand too much. It was just a really long day and a lot of information within a very short frame of time, because Florian, if he wants, he can be very fast in throwing the right arguments at you, right? So I said, okay, wait. Second, let's call Russell, right? Russell, the CEO of 360 Company, and they had a chat on the phone, and then he brought me back the phone, right? And I said, Russell, what do you think? He was like, pretty smart, you should look into that. And that was basically the start of the story, right? So there was from, you could say, the first second on the intention to look in the RegTech space to companies that could have great synergies. And I know that there is a collaboration. They have, there is a contract between the two companies. They're working on something here on the KYC on-chain space, and also for the crypto side of things. Now with FluffTech, a regulated crypto market maker, where we are invested in Switzerland, I think there's also additional synergies as they're serving, exchanges and a lot of token projects, protocols, etc. So I think there's good synergies coming up, but they're more on the market making side, which is again a little bit different. They need regulatory technologies, little different market segment. I have two other things in RegTech that I'm actually looking at the moment, very early, but I think there's some more elements that we need. When you look at the broader space, there could be something in custodianship, there could be something in the identifying and the quality of identified units, right, playing into that market. It's a little bit difficult to navigate around so that nobody knows what we're looking at the moment. And deals, a lot of times they don't happen, right? So I don't want to be loud and proud about something that is not done yet. So I think bottom line is with RegTechs, we're very happy. I think they're enablers, like a shovel in the gold rush of this dynamic change in the fintech industry. And we're looking forward to build more synergies within the portfolio. I believe a lot into in synergy gearing within the portfolio, and even more in strong international, highly experienced co-investors. I'm super happy to have Pascal and MiddleGame Ventures as a lead investor here. I couldn't imagine for a better lead in this round, and also for the co-investors that we have. Super experienced internationally, great portfolios, and I think now the DNA is there. No pressure, but I think there's some growth and some work ahead of you.
No, work ahead of you is a good point. What are you going to do with the money that you raised? Because you have a lot of revenues as well. You can finance your costs. Why did you take the round, and why did you decide for the amount? Did you want to have 8-digit million sum, or would it be possible also to raise less?
Well, actually, the round scaled up while we were on concepting it. So we actually wanted to start out with doing just 2 million, which would give us growth, and we should be sustainable with that growth. But yeah, a few things came up. Of course, the DSE guideline, which is like an event where we have to prepare for and get in as many markets and as many partnerships and clients as possible until this kicks in. And then, Pascal actually gave me a lot of input while just setting up the round. He already helped me a lot with introductions and his ideas on where we could be. And this is hypergrowth is the word, and that you need resources for that. And now we're having the monetary resources. Now it's my challenge to transition those into human resources and also, of course, into the markets. So this is what's lying ahead of us. I'd say we probably have to double the team until the end of the year, looking for a lot of key hires. We're a technology provider, so of course software development is a big topic, but also business development. This is something that lay with me for the last years, and now I need an extra team, just to get into
B2B
markets.
sales, as Pascal also mentioned.
B2B sales, partnerships, but also don't forget the B2C side. It's still a big part of our business. At the same time, we need to scale up all those different factors in the company.
Hyper growth investment is a good point, and a lot of learnings here. Did it take a lot of courage to decide to go on the path of the hyper growth? Because you started with thinking about 2 million. Does it require, I don't know, a mindset switch? How did it feel for you to say, no, let's go for 10 million and let's kick in the hyper growth?
Yeah, definitely a mindset switch. But now with the current investment round and the partners coming on the board. I just like say I have the resources, the know-how now. I know how to do it, and if I don't know, I know who to ask and who I have on the board. So this is something that, of course, is not just my mindset, but the mindset of the whole team, especially the founder team. And we were all like from second one, like, okay, we're gonna do this. We can do this. We have the resources. We know we will try, and we will do it.
How far can this hyper growth lead you? We currently in 2021 in Austria have to ask about unicorns. I mean, we have 2 so far. Another one is coming up, I've heard, so to say. Is that a path that you could also join?
Of course, the market is definitely there. I think it might take us a few more months or years to go there. But yeah, if all the events that we're expecting are going to happen, I want to join those up there.
Maybe
if I may,
yes,
if I
please.
may add, I'll make a critique of the word hypergrowth, which I actually do not like. I've invested on both sides of the pond, right, in the US and in Europe. And in as much as I'm quite critical of US startups and US teams raising a lot of money faster and sooner, because I think that leads to unintended negative consequences, right? Go fast and break things has a certain limit. And we've seen it with a lot of unicorns that later have had a lot of issues because they didn't grow on solid foundations. So in as much as I'm critical of raising too much money, I also see the inverse in Europe, where there are certain startups that are in the right market with the right team. And for a whole host of reasons, they may be cultural, they may be, indeed the mindset that you speak of. They don't realize that they should raise more money than what they have figured out themselves. And showing them that they can raise, instead of X, that they can raise 3X, let's say, doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be on a hyper-growth path. It means that they basically have realized that they have a much bigger potential, right? So from that token, if Blockpit had raised through other investors, let's say 30 million, that would certainly have been in the realm of what we see with certain US startups. And for the maturity that Blockpit is in, that would have been way too much, or bordering on risky hypergrowth.
Okay.
What we have here is, I think, right sizing of how big the opportunity is, and not necessarily thinking of the negative connotations of what hypergrowth mean in a different context, because we've seen startups growing really fast and making mistakes. And I don't think that we are there with Blockpit by far.
But it's possible that you could have bigger rounds in the future to finance the next step, the next milestones.
Obviously, but I think the point, if I may add here, Pascal, I think the point that you're trying to make is it needs to be balanced at every phase of the company, right? The setup needs to be there. Maybe,
super important.
If Blockpit hires 50 great people and the setup is there, the departments are set, the growth, the processes are there, and I mean, we have seen how fast this team did the post-merger integration with the acquisition of CryptoTax, which is something that needs to get also a good acknowledgement, because growing at fast pace and doing in parallel a post-merger integration is something big, right? This is something you need to pull off first. Now, having said that, let's say Florian gets these key hires and the team grows to, I don't know, 80, 100, whatever, and the setup is right. I think there is, again, a much higher round possible, much higher valuation could be justified, much higher market opportunity is realistic because the team is capable at that point then. But then again, what will we do? We will look deep into our eyes as co-investors. We will look into, also the planning and the capabilities at the moment in the market and also with the team, and then find the right balance again, right? And this balance can be at a 50 or 100 million round, right? But it can also be at a 30 million round.
Yeah, and the team has to be ready for it. I think that's a very important point, Pascal, because it's also about, if you hire from, 20 to 200, you can break things, like you said. And we see startups who didn't make it in such a phase because the management assignment, so to say, to deal with that was crushed them. So to say.
But it's a new phase, right?
It's a new phase. Maybe on the final touch, you have a competitor in America who raised 100 million approximately a few months ago. and now you have 10 million as well. Will you remain focused on the European market, or do you want to use this money to enter the American market as well?
We're going to stay fully focused on the European market. It's our home market. We know things here. It's a big market, as Berthold said. So we want to be the #1 player in the European market. We want to again enter all countries in there. So by 2024, we want to be in all European markets and maybe some even abroad. So this is the clear focus. This is where we can use our resources, monetary and of course personal resources, the best to get the most return out of it.
So it's probably all about gaining market shares in Europe for the coming months and years.
Exactly. In the different segments, so next to B2C, also now B2B and B2G, and of course in all different jurisdictions, because it's just like a separate topic in every country. And I'm looking forward, now that the round is basically closed, to focus again on those business development, because there are a lot of challenges ahead, and I'm really excited to go this way.
Pascal, just on the final note, and Berthold, a bit of a let's call it macro perspective or a big picture. We have, like Florian mentioned, DeFi, Morpher, for example, super successful company from Austria. Tim Draper is invested there, and Tim Draper said blockchain and crypto will be bigger than internet. Would you share this? Would you share this estimation with him, or is he biased because he's invested obviously in this market?
Do you want to go first, Pascal?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I would say yes and no, right? Every time when you have such a hype around a new technology, right, or a new space, there is also a lot of noise coming on, right? So there is this millions of gold diggers rushing in. Every day there is new tokens, right? And a lot of ideas are not even worth the PowerPoint they're printed on, yeah, to be very honest. So in this hyped market, it's extremely difficult, even more difficult than in other markets, to find the real nuggets. Yeah? So that's something that is difficult. What I truly believe in is that decentralized finance will be a game changer for finance as we know it today. I always bring one very simple example. If you look at SWIFT, SWIFT is a telephone line. Yeah? It's basically a partnership of banks, historically super old, and it's a stupid line that just puts through an amount of money. Now we have KYC requirements that are extremely complex, right, with different jurisdictions, ultimate beneficial owners, etc. You have to have time-stamped primary source data. This is a space where our company, 360 Company AG, is working in. And you could actually bring this data on chain with every payment, right? But this would mean that you are not working with a telephone line anymore. You would work with something like Ripple or with R3 or with anything like in this space, where you would have information on chain with every payment. Now, this is only one very, very simple, tiny element, how finance impacts us and how technology like blockchain will impact us in the near future. This goes down to even storage of documents, which you could do decentralized with time stamping, who looked when on which contract for compliance reasons, and so on and so forth. I think there is incredibly useful use cases for blockchain, and I think those will be extremely successful. There will be a change of the way certain industries will work with, also industrials, like supply chain, etc. But there is also, and one should be aware, there's also a lot of funny business going on in this space, and you shouldn't just throw money at everything that says blockchain, right? That's the only remark I want to make. Also for the business angels out there, not everything that has the right buzzword is really big.
It's really big. Pascal, what's your estimate?
Well, first, I am convinced that distributed ledger technology provides a different computational paradigm, right? That's I think, undisputed. Second, you use Tim Draper as an example with his comment, and you have to parse that comment. You either interpret it as, and I'll use the word blockchain for everything under the sun in distributed ledger technology, right? Either blockchain as a new set of technologies will augment the world as we know it and make it, quote unquote, better, faster, simpler, meaner, et cetera, or it will supersede the world as we know it and be even bigger than the world as we know it. I think I'm more of the former, i.e. it will augment either at the margin in certain respects or a little more than at the margin in other respects. And as far as the latter, which is very much a maximalist view, I do think that the jury is still out. We really don't know the potential and the power of how these sets of technologies will be applied. But we also know that there are limitations right now. What we don't know is how these limitations will be prosecuted through constant innovation, and if we'll get to a product market fit with blockchain technologies that allow for something that is extremely transformational and indeed like much bigger than the internet. Again, the former, yes, augment, in some cases somewhat, in other cases much more, as opposed to like a wholesale replacement.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much. Florian, all the best for the next step of your growth, of your development. All the best with the hiring, all the best with next pivots that are planned, and also with those who might be not planned. Super exciting development of your company. We were talking with you from the very, very beginnings when you started, and it's really, really fascinating to see you grow, to see you develop in your founder role as manager, as somebody who is the insider of the blockchain and crypto world, and we're super happy to have you as an Austrian and European startup to rock this game. All the best. Thank you, Pascal. Thank you, Berthold. Thank you, Florian, and thank you for being with us. Dear audience,
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, and we'll obviously report about the whole crypto ecosystem and Blockpit, one of the actually champions from Austrian ecosystem, going European, going international, maybe someday then also going global. Super exciting story. Stay tuned. Thank you and goodbye.